The rain hammered against the corrugated metal roof of the industrial district as Maya sprinted through the darkened streets, her sneakers splashing through puddles. At 12 years old, she'd never run so fast in her life. Behind her, the glow of the distribution center's security lights faded into the storm. "Help! Someone help us!" she screamed into the night, her voice breaking. "They hurt my mom. She's dying." Most windows remained dark. Most doors stayed closed. The neighborhood had learned long ago not to get involved in other people's troubles, especially when it involved Titan Corp, the massive logistics company that controlled half the jobs in this Rust Belt town. Maya's mother, Sandra Chen, had worked as a union organizer at the Titan Corp warehouse. For months, she'd been documenting safety violations, broken forklifts, blocked emergency exits, workers forced to skip breaks. Tonight, she'd planned to submit her evidence to the labor board. But someone had leaked her plans. 3 warehouse supervisors had cornered Sandra in the parking lot after her shift. Maya had been waiting in their old sedan, doing homework by the dome light. She'd seen everything through the rain-streaked windshield, the shoving, her mother falling, the kicks that followed. Now Maya ran past shuttered shops and vacant lots until she reached the edge of town, where the old industrial buildings gave way to sprawling fields. There, illuminated by a single floodlight, stood an enormous figure working in an open-air repair shop. Marcus Wellington stood 6'8" and weighed close to 300 pounds. Once a professional wrestler, an injury had ended his career 15 years ago. Now he ran a small machinery repair business, fixing tractors and industrial equipment for the few remaining independent farmers and contractors in the area. People called him the Mountain or Big Mark, though never with affection. His massive size and stern demeanor kept most people at a distance. "Please," Maya gasped, stumbling into his workspace. "You have to help. They attacked my mom. She's in the parking lot. She's not moving." Marcus looked down at the small, drenched girl, his expression unreadable. He wiped grease from his hands with a red rag, taking his time. "Not my business," he said flatly, turning back to the tractor engine he'd been rebuilding. "What?" Maya couldn't believe it. "She's hurt. She might die." "Call the police," Marcus said, not looking at her. "They won't help. Titan Corp owns this town, everyone knows it." Tears mixed with rain on Maya's face. "Please, you're the only person big enough, strong enough, they'll listen to you." Marcus set down his wrench with a heavy clang. "Listen to me, kid. I stay out of trouble. I fix machines, I mind my business, and I survive. That's it. Your mother's problems aren't mine. She was just trying to make things safer. Workers were getting hurt. Then she should have known better." Marcus's voice was cold. "You don't fight Titan Corp. Nobody wins against them. Now go home." Maya stood there shaking, staring up at this mountain of a man who wouldn't move an inch. Finally, she turned and ran back into the rain, her sobs lost in the thunder. Marcus returned to his work, but his hands had stilled. He stared at the engine without seeing it. 20 years ago, he'd had a wife. Elena. She'd worked at the same warehouse complex, back when it was under different ownership. There'd been a chemical spill, improper storage, no safety equipment. Elena had been exposed. The company had covered it up, paid off inspectors, threatened workers who spoke up. Elena had died 6 months later. Marcus had been young then, angry, powerful. He'd tried to fight. He'd tried to make them pay. Instead, he'd been blacklisted, threatened, run out of 3 different towns before finally landing here. He'd learned his lesson: keep your head down, stay invisible despite your size, survive. But that little girl's face, he cursed under his breath, grabbed his waterproof jacket, and headed for his truck. The warehouse parking lot was nearly empty when Marcus arrived. He found Sandra Chen unconscious beside her car, rain pooling around her. Maya knelt beside her mother, trying to shield her with her small body. Marcus checked Sandra's pulse, weak but present. He lifted her as easily as if she weighed nothing and carried her to his truck. "Get in," he told Maya. At the small county hospital, the doctor confirmed 3 cracked ribs, a concussion, and internal bruising. "She's lucky," the doctor said quietly. Another hour out there, while Sandra remained sedated, Maya fell asleep in a chair beside the bed. Marcus sat in the corner of the room, his massive frame somehow looking small and folded. A police officer arrived around midnight. Marcus recognized him, Officer Dale Persons, who'd been on Titan Corp's payroll for years. The supervisors filed a report, Persons said, flipping through his notepad. "They say Ms. Chen attacked them first. That she was drunk, belligerent. They were defending themselves." "That's a lie." Maya jerked awake. "I saw everything. They attacked her." Persons barely glanced at her. The testimony of 3 supervisors against 1 child who was probably not even present. "The case is pretty clear." He looked at Marcus. "I'd advise everyone involved to let this go. Ms. Chen is lucky she's not being charged with assault." After Persons left, Maya broke down crying. Marcus stood at the window, watching the rain, his jaw clenched. "I have her evidence," Maya whispered. "The documents about the safety violations. She kept copies on a USB drive, hid it in our apartment. But what good does it do? Nobody will listen. They'll just say she made it up, say she was a troublemaker." Marcus turned slowly. "Where's this drive?" For 3 days, Marcus played a role he hadn't played in 2 decades, investigator, advocate, rebel. He used his contacts in the industrial equipment world to reach union leaders in neighboring states. He called reporters at newspapers that weren't owned by Titan Corp's parent company. He digitized every document on Maya's USB drive and sent copies to labor organizations, OSHA officials, and worker safety groups. Most importantly, he did something that terrified him. He started asking questions in town. Despite his size, Marcus had always tried to remain invisible. Now he deliberately made himself seen. He visited the warehouse, talking to workers on their breaks. His reputation as someone who'd once fought the system, and lost, gave him credibility. With people too scared to speak up. One by one, workers shared their stories. Marcus recorded them on his phone. The broken equipment that management refused to fix. The quotas that forced people to skip bathroom breaks. The supervisor who told an employee to walk off a dislocated shoulder or lose his job. The woman who'd miscarried on the warehouse floor because she was afraid to take time off. Sandra Chen hadn't been a troublemaker. She'd been a canary in a coal mine, warning everyone about the poison they were all breathing. On the 4th day, Titan Corp sent 2 representatives to Marcus's repair shop. They weren't supervisors. They were lawyers. "Mr. Wellington, we understand you've been spreading certain allegations about Titan Corp. We'd like to offer Ms. Chen a settlement. Medical expenses covered, 6 months paid leave, and a generous severance package. In return, she signs a non-disclosure agreement and drops any claims." "And if she doesn't?" Marcus asked. The lawyer smiled. "Then we pursue charges of assault against our employees, defamation, and we ensure she never works in logistics again. We also review any businesses that might be supporting her claims. Independent contractors can have a hard time getting work if word spreads that they are difficult to work with." After they left, Marcus sat in his shop for a long time. He could feel the old fear creeping back, the memories of being blacklisted, chased from town to town, losing everything. Then he thought of Elena. And of Maya's face in the rain. He made a phone call. The regional news station ran the story on a Tuesday evening. Safety crisis at Titan Corp. Whistleblower assaulted. Dozens of workers share horror stories. The reporter had interviewed 15 current and former employees. She'd obtained the documentation Sandra had compiled. Most damning, she'd gotten security camera footage from a neighboring business that showed the entire parking lot assault. Proof that the supervisors had lied to police. The story went viral. By Wednesday, national news outlets had picked it up. By Thursday, OSHA announced a full investigation. By Friday, the State Labor Board had suspended operations at the warehouse pending safety reviews. The 3 supervisors were arrested. Officer Persons was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into his handling of the case. Sandra Chen woke up to find herself at the center of a movement she hadn't meant to start. A month later, Sandra was well enough to walk with only a slight limp. Titan Corp had settled, not just with her, but with the union representing all the workers. Safety improvements were mandated. Independent monitors were installed. The company's regional manager was replaced. It wasn't perfect justice. It never was. But it was something. Maya found Marcus at his shop one afternoon, working on an engine as always. "Mom wanted me to thank you," she said. "She says she wouldn't be alive if not for you." Marcus didn't look up from his work. "I didn't do much. You did everything. You believed us when nobody else would." He finally met her eyes. "I didn't, at first. I turned you away, remember? But you came back. That's what matters." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I lost someone a long time ago. Someone like your mother, who tried to do the right thing. I didn't help her then. I was too scared, too focused on protecting myself." He set down his wrench. "I've been hiding from that guilt for 20 years. You and your mother, you reminded me that some things are worth the risk." "What was her name?" Maya asked softly. "Elena. I think she'd be proud of you now." After Maya left, Marcus stood alone in his shop. For the first time in 2 decades, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter. He picked up a photograph he kept hidden in his toolbox. Elena, smiling, young, alive. "I hope so," he whispered. The warehouse reopened with new safety protocols. Sandra Chen became a regional union coordinator, helping workers at other facilities organize and advocate for themselves. Maya kept the newspaper article about the story framed in her bedroom, not because she wanted to remember the trauma, but because she wanted to remember what happened when people chose courage over comfort. And Marcus Wellington. He kept fixing machines and staying mostly to himself. But now when workers came to his shop with stories of unsafe conditions or abuse, he listened. He made calls. He connected people with resources. He never advertised what he did. He never sought recognition. But word spread. If you needed someone strong enough to stand up to power, the mountain might just have your back, because he'd learned the hard way that survival isn't the same as living. And sometimes the biggest person in the room needs to make themselves big for the people who can't. Hello everyone. If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, don't forget to support our channel. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. We regularly upload amazing, informative, and entertaining content just for you. Your support means a lot to us and motivates us to bring even better content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to our growing community.